Hello everyone, I'm Carmen. I'm one of the 3D modelers here at Firestorm. I predominantly do characters actually, but that is not my first and only love. I really enjoy working in Houdini and doing more procedural modeling. That is, let's say, my favorite part of 3D. So for the last few weeks, 2 months, 3 months, something like that. I've been working on this lantern and it's getting there. We're in the final phases, I would say, depending on how detailed I want to go, because detailing is fun, and um, yeah, what more can I say? Detailing is fun. So, without further ado, let's get into things. So, objective for today is going to be I want to fix the archways because if we look over here, it clips through the pillar, and I'm not happy with that. It did the job to give us the overall look that we were going for, in the sense of I can see what the archways look like, but it's not ideal. And it has been annoying me for the last however many weeks. So that is going to be one of the priorities. The other one is going to be we're going to detail this cube a bit because, again, does the job, but is a bit boring compared to everything else because everything else has got significantly more details. So I would like to fix that up a little bit. And then there was another thing. Oh, last week, no, not last week. On Tuesday, we added this donut shape underneath or between the roof itself and the little ornament on top. I would like to do the same, but over here, between the roof and hmm, between the flat part of the roof and the curved part of the roof, because I think that area looks a little unrefined. No, we could leave it as is, obviously, but I would prefer refining that further. We might, if we do that, have to scale down the roof a little bit because in the areas where this part is extruding outwards, there's only a small, tiny bit of space. So due to that, I would like to refine a little bit. And then for the rest, we'll play and see what we get. So so where do we start? I think we're going to start with the donut. We're going to start with the donut because I think that's going to be the easiest part to implement. How do I put it? The fixing the archways is going to be the most difficult part of what we do today, because I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it, but we're going to play with it and see what we get because that's half the fun. So, all right. Now this node network has become a cluttered mess. I mention this every stream, and it's driving me insane, but I quite frankly don't have time to fix it at the moment. So we're going to work with it. Maybe we'll do some fixing on stream, but I'll try to keep this more educational. Fixing can be educational, but it's not the most fun thing to watch. So we'll be focusing on the more creative fun side. So, this is the torus I used for the donut up here. I think I'm probably going to repurpose it for the roof bottom piece. And I'm just going to check how this is connected up to the network. It's copying to what point? We're copying to the top point. Right. So, let us grab that one. Now the scale, is the scale connected to anything? It's not. So that is a mistake. Because if we ever scale the ornament or the roof, um, it's going to break. It's going to be either too small or too big, depending on how we scale it and where. But we're going to work with it and make it work. So, actually, I'm going to make a note of that. We need to fix the scaling for that. Fix scaling ornament thing. Taurus. Right. Most likely I'll figure out how to do it on the roof, and then or the piece for the bottom piece for the roof, and then I'll just adapt the original one. Then we'll work from there, because why not? Right, so I actually want to see everything. Probably no, we want to see the roof. So that is the roof, and that's getting boolean together with this. So we need to add the second force before the boolean, ideally, because then we can use the boolean operation for both, and then we don't have to stress about anything or worry about anything. So that would be quite ideal. Now, what can we do? We can try match size. Let's try that first. Let's try match size. So that's going to be match size. And then we are going to connect that up with that one, because that's the one that needs to be resized. And then this will go into the thingamajig. And then we're not looking for the, yeah, we're looking for scale to fit. We're not looking for translate, because we're not planning to move it. This needs to stay at the sort of the origin. We might lift it up a little bit so it's flat. Let's actually do that. So that is going to be none for the X, Y needs to be minimum, and Z does nothing, so let's do that as none. And then we can, I'm actually going to template this just so I can see what it's doing. Right, so this needs to be bigger than the original roof. All of the roof needs to be smaller. I think we're also going to slightly lower this, because if it's in the roof, I don't want it to be on top of the flat piece of roof. I want it to slightly sink into it, just so that it's a smoother connection. And I do want to scale to fit, but I don't want uniform scaling, because I don't want it to scale too much in the y-axis. Well, that's annoying. That's very fast. We might have to do a little bit of a scaling here. Let's put that at 1, 2. It should be okay. That should be fine. Right, and then we're going to make it a little bit bigger than the roof. Can we do that? Mind you, scale to fit, yes. Don't want to do uniform scaling. Yes, there were. I wish there was a way to scale it slightly bigger, kind of the way that it is for the translation. So that is very annoying. We'll see what we can do about that. Because obviously if I scale it here, it's not going to do anything. So either I need to forget about the match size and scale it with a transform, or I need to scale the roof after the control. No, that's not ideal either. That is not ideal either. Right. We're scrapping the match size. Now, this is for those of you that don't know Houdini, haven't used Houdini. This is kind of the workflow that comes with Houdini. It's never linear. It's literally never linear. I've worked on this project for however many months, because I'm only working on it during streams. And in that entire time, nothing has been linear, despite me reusing the same nodes over and over. Sometimes you need to reorder them. Sometimes you need to do something completely different from what you normally do. It's never a smooth path, and that's why I like Houdini, because I get bored really quickly. So due to that, I enjoy playing around with it and trying different things and seeing what works best. But that does make it a little strange to watch, and it's also the reason why people don't stream Houdini, because it's not linear, and because there's a lot of back and forth. Let's try this, let's see if it works. If it doesn't, we'll try something else, and that makes it daunting to teach, especially live. You'll often find tutorials of Houdini where they'll have a node network like this one, more organized, but like this one, already set up, and then they'll walk you through the nodes. They'll say, okay, this node, then I did this. I had this note, then I did that. But they won't really usually show you the full process of how they actually got to the solution. And if they do, I can guarantee they practiced it beforehand and it's not live, and it's most likely edited. But I don't like working like that. I want you guys to have the nitty gritty of things. So I will show you all the flaws. I will show you the process. Even if the process isn't linear, we might backtrack. We might delete an area of the data. We might start over in some areas. But that's how I work. And I kind of want people to have a realistic image of how Houdini works. Because I don't think it's a good thing to, at least for the learning aspect, to look at all these videos and everything is just perfect and everything just magically works without knowing what the process was for that person to get to the end result. So I like giving you guys the kind of behind the scenes of things. So moving on, we've deleted the match size. So we're now going to be scaling our roof here. No, not the roof. We'll be scaling the torus. And it needs to be based upon the size of the roof. So we'll have to figure out where the size of the roof is coming from. That is going to be interesting. Right, so the height is coming from the line. That is fine. The resample won't do anything. The reverse point num won't affect the size. The rooftop shape will affect the size, but obviously that's not a scale we can use to, we can't steal the scale here. So that is not really an option, which is going to make this more difficult, right? Because we can't really, you know what we can do? Let me quickly undo that. I've just had a plan. You know this match size, that's the wrong size? We're going to work with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place a transform at the end that just adds X% to it. Of scale, that is. That way, if we change the shape of the roof, no, but that won't be dependent on the roof. It'll be a temporary fix, and I don't like temporary fixes. But we might have to settle for one. See if there's a different way we can do this. Restore transform. No. Right. The alternative is we transform the roof. Because this is getting fed into this network. But if I remove the template, the roof isn't actually there. It's just referenced. So I can scale the roof to be a slightly bigger size, specifically for the match size. That way we'll have a bigger torus. We'll have a bigger torus without having to scale the actual torus and mess with transforms and funny values. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a transform before the match size. Now this is affecting the roof, right? So we want to scale in X and Z. For those of you that haven't really looked into it, it's something I learned and I should have known, but I just never thought about it. So in terms of world orientation, the easiest way to know which one you need to alter is it is alphabetical order. So in other words, the red is X, green is Y, blue is Z. Now, depending on what software you use, your up will be a different letter. Some have it in Z. I believe Blender might be Z is up, but for Houdini, Y is up. So I don't want to scale on the Y because I don't want the roof to be taller, because that won't help me scale the torus. I need it to be in the X and Z. So I'm going to start with probably 0.1. And see if that is enough for me to work with. And I think that might actually be too much. So we're going to do 0.5, well, 0.05, that one. 0.05, no, not in the height, not in the height. And then in just remove that point, and I've created an expression, so I'm just going to delete channels for that. Right, brilliant. Now, this is all getting Boolean together, but as I mentioned before, I want this to be Boolean together before, well, merged together before we Boolean. In other words, I want the one on top, this one, and the one on the bottom to be Boolean together at the same time, because I don't like having so many Booleans. Booleans are a disruptive workflow. So the topology isn't technically correct. It's a bit like, it's not sculpting, but it's a bit like sculpting where you have to retopper after you create the model. It's a bit like that. So let's see what it looks like all together. Let us see what it looks like all together. Right, and this is sort of why I mentioned we might have to do some scaling. Because it's connecting over here, which I don't like. So let's see where we can scale it. I do have a scale here somewhere. I believe merge it. Alright. That merges into there. This scales over here. And this is based upon the width of, I'm not sure which one. That's match size. This transform is doing the same thing, I suspect. Let's see. So that one, I'm not sure if this is affecting the... It is. Right, so our scale is coming much later down into the network. So, we need to check two things. The first thing we need to check is are we happy with the torus at the bottom? If the answer is no, we need to adjust it first. But if we are happy with it, we can adjust the scaling in this area here. No, I'm not happy with it. Quite frankly, I'm not. So I'm going to try and see if there's a different way we can do this, which is less ugly. Because this is, it just doesn't work for me. If we go down and look at the full picture, there's two problems. Okay, this is going inside the roof, so that is firstly something we need to fix. But that'll be fixed predominantly with scaling plus a little bit of the match size. You know, remember how I adjusted the offset? Well, I adjusted it too far, so therefore it is now going inside of the pedestal thing. Right, so that's the one thing. The second thing I don't really like is how this is connecting up here. And that is because it's partly scale, right? If we go to our torus, which is over here, it's because of this. It's too wide. So what we can do is we can actually, now this is partly due to the scale, right? But we can fix it by, is that radius? The other value, I think it's the other one. Yep. We can do that. So that'll fix that, but I also want it to be higher. So this is getting squished. Don't want to be squished that far. Just do that. Hi, Shining Armor, how are you? And then Boolean together, that is fine. Match size, we want to change this value. So currently it's going minus 0.06. I think that's too much, so let's try 3. How would that look like? Wait. No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, let's Boolean this together. And that already looks better. That already looks much, much better. So, let's see what it looks like together. Just to see whether the plan actually worked. Well, I missed out on getting some rescripts today, though. I know, why is that? And what times I know you? Because for me it's like early morning. Well, not that early. It's like 8:30. So, yeah. But yeah, bottom line is, What time zone is it? Well, not necessarily what time zone, but what time is it there? Right. So we've got that sorted. Now we need to fix the scale because it's still flipping through. And I think this is actually too big. So 10:24 p.m. here. Oh wow, shouldn't you be sleeping? I sleep at like 8. Okay, but I'm a morning person, so I guess it makes sense. Let's change that to 2.5. That's also going to be 2.5. Right, that is better. Making progress. It's no longer clipping. I am a nocturnal creature. I used to be, but then I started working and I found that if I get up at 9, which I used to do, very long time ago, I got up at 9, then it felt like half a day is gone, and I live in a very warm climate. So if I get up at 9, the house is warm, everything is warm, the last thing you want to do is work. So there is that. Right, so that is fixed, but the bottom is not fixed. So I suspect something is going wrong or wonky at some point. That's very descriptive, by the way. Well, not at all. So this is coming from here. That's feeding into that. This is feeding into that. That's getting transformed down. Match size there. And that's getting merged together. So this one should be fine because this is the top one. So it's this one we're looking at. And its position is determined by what? I used to get up early, but my ADHD medications give me insomnia, so now I sleep in the day. Oh, that's horrible. That is horrible. I understand insomnia. I used to have a lot of it, or have it often, but not anymore. So hopefully with time, it'll go away. But I know that it is a common side effect of that medication. Or well, ADHD medication in general, I mean. How are we going to fix this? So this is going into scale. That's getting merged together. And there is a gap, but maybe it's not enough of a gap. Why are you not working? At what point is this getting positioned? Once it merged, it's over there. And then this is transforming it. But I'm not seeing, oh, it's rotating over there. Found it. Found it. So over here I was using a match size, right? So that's why this one is working. I'm not using a match size on the other side. I used basically a reference point. It's referencing the height through a little bit of coding. It sounds more complicated than it is, but not ideal. Not ideal. So I'm probably going to change this one to be a match size as well. So let's duplicate that. And then we replace the transform, and that's going to be on the left side. Obviously this is popping up to the top, we want the opposite, so that's going to be, let's keep it like the map. Got it. Alright, let's see if that works. So we don't want that going into there. Hopefully I've not just broken everything. Let me just quickly undo that and double check. Why is this going in there twice? Yeah, it kind of hit me out of nowhere, but thankfully I like the quiet time. Did you ever fix that one part of the land that you were working on? Ooh, which part? Which part? Which part? Because I've done a lot of fixing. I've done a lot of fixing. Let's put that together. see if that's working. That is fixed. We've got that. The match size is brilliant. So that looks good. That looks good. Don't want this to be templated. Now I don't like that this area is sharp though. Let's increase the divisions on the torus. That is, and this nightmare over here. But yeah, you're right. It is much quieter at night, which is nice because I know I have to put my phone on silent during the day when I'm working, even early mornings, because I've got friends right across the world, so time zones are a factor. So for them it might be middle of the day, but for me it's like early morning when I'm trying to be productive. So can it be rows? Yes, brilliant. So we need 30, which is certainly a large amount, but anyway, that does look significantly better. We'll need to up the rows. Yeah, I think it's rows on the top one as well. Oh, yes. I fixed it. So the problem with it was, if we go down to our, no, it's going to be up here. I believe it's this area. Right. This is the ornament that goes on top of the roof. So like the little tip of it. And within it is, I believe it was in the line. Yes. There was a control. And that basically links up to the control on this side. So I can adjust the ornament height from over here. And when I copied the network, when I copied this entire network to get the ones for the little pieces on the side, I copied that as well. So then I implemented a second control that was actually for the height of these, and they basically interfered with each other. So they were scaling really weirdly, and they were scaling with the ornament when I only wanted them, or with the top ornament when I wanted them to be separate. So it was a bit of a rigmarole, but we got there in the end. So that is fixed, and that is also the downside of copying a network across, because you oftentimes copy areas and you have little controls built in, because I love controls. I love being able to change everything from a single node, or one or two nodes. And due to that, if you copy a network for a new area of your project, you often copy that little control as well, and then it breaks everything. It's happened a million times. You would think I would learn, but no, I did not learn. So yeah, bottom line is it is fixed. The other area I struggled with for a really, really long time was figuring out how to select every second row on the roll. But that has thankfully been fixed a while. Right, so we've got our donut. So that I can eliminate from my to-do list. The other thing I want to check is, because I've added these toruses, but I'm not sure whether it'll actually scale correctly if I adjust anything really. So we're going to go to the main body. This control is getting very slow, by the way. I probably need to cache this somehow, but I have not done that. Okay, so it doesn't technically break, but it does start looking a bit odd if we scale too far. But that goes for everything, right? So, I mean, everything kind of breaks when you get to a certain width. But there is ways of fixing it. You can, for example, increase the roof height, and that'll kind of balance things out a little bit. And then you can adjust the ornament height, and so on and so forth. And that'll kind of, well, balance everything out. So the option to scale this way, wider, to make it wider, is there. You'll just have to play with the other parameters in order to make it look proportionate again. And maybe you would want to get rid of the things at the bottom. Maybe you would want this to be a little bit shorter, the ornament to be a little bit shorter. Maybe you'd want them to be smaller as well. I don't know. Lots of options. Now here we've encountered a problem, right? If I scale that, this donut area breaks. So that is not good at all. What I suspect we'll probably do eventually is scale the roof a little bit more inwards at the top. That should fix that. So that'll fix the gap and so on. Node-based workflows require too much brain power for me. I must admit, sometimes for me as well. I mean, I love it, don't get me wrong, absolutely love it. But it's a bit daunting if you break it down. If you take it step by step and you kind of look at things from, let's say, from the start, right? So if you start with the bare basics, you've just got your line, you've just got your normals, you've just got your curve view, etc., etc. It's relatively simple. But once you've put together an entire model, it looks very intimidating and very difficult. So yes, it can be complicated, but if you build it from scratch, you're fine. Now, if I was to hand this network off to somebody, they would be very, very lost. So if I was ever to hand this off to somebody else, I would do major cleanup, major naming, and I will do that before I archive this project once it's done. I'll do an entire cleanup because I want to be able to go back in a year or 5 and look at this project and know exactly what's going on. So I would do major organization, which I've not really done. Hello, Manu. Welcome. Lovely to have you here. Your FX part is based in LA. That is so cool. I'm really interested in FX. Haven't had the time to explore it though. So I've been mainly using Houdini for modeling. As for Narnia, love Narnia. I want to watch Narnia again. I've wanted to read the books. Have not read the books yet, which is a shame because I have watched the 2 movies, which I assume is like all book to movie adaptations, and the books are just better. Usually it's that way. It's very rare for the movie to be better than the books. I'll get to it eventually though, because I am a reader. I'm not really somebody that watches a lot of series or movies for that matter. I do the reading. Don't play a lot of games either, which is strange when considering I am in this industry which is very game heavy. Right, so quickly going to move a cat because he's playing with wires. Okay, we're good. Would not be a stream or a meeting or anything like that if a cat does not interfere with a computer or wire or something somewhere. Indeed, the unicorn of the food industry. Just a little bit. Gotta keep things interesting. Though it's a very tough situation in an interview because once you get interviewed for a role, they always ask, so what's your favorite game? And I'm like, lying through my teeth, Minecraft. So, but I have played Minecraft, and I've played a little bit of Sims 4. That's about the sum total of my gaming experience. I've done other games, but they never last. Minecraft and Sims is sort of the 2 games I sometimes go back to, like twice a year or something. Right, so we've got that is functional for now. What was the other thing? Scaling is fixed. Arches is daunting. I don't know if I want to go into arches yet. Let's detail the cube. The cube being our little piece over here. Now, trying to think what would be best for it. Let's find it first because that is going to be interesting. We've got utter cluttered mess. Every stream I say we're going to organize it. I'm going to organize it before the next stream. I never do. playing Minecraft is the rite of passage for people in this day and age. That is very true. That is very true. You know, there's a, I don't know the name for it, but they've relaunched somewhat a game that looks practically identical to Minecraft. It's still in the testing beta phases, but I've heard it's really good. Have not played it though, but it's very, very sim. Yes, it is Hightail. I'm so glad there's people that know what I'm talking about with like the bare bone basics info. So I've heard that's good. Right. So we're looking for a cube in this cluster. So probably be found it. Was with the arches, of course, because it is relevant to the arches. No, it's not that cube. Okay, not that cube. Found it. Has to be this one. Has to be this one. It is. Brilliant. Don't know why there's a merge here. Don't know why there's a merge here. Let's remove it. I suspect I have the network set up in a different way. I'll have to try that too. Honestly, I've not heard any problems with it. Same. The only thing I do know is the actual RPG story. I don't even know if you would call it story. Let's say the progression isn't quite there yet. But they are actively working on it, and they've done like 3 updates in the last month or 2, which is insane. So that we're gonna group. Groups are fine. And we're going to do it based upon normals. Why not? Let's do normals. Normals are brilliant. Alright, so we're going to reduce this amount, I suspect. Going to do that way. Trying to think. That's going to be this direction and that direction maybe? Ha. Got it. And then this is going to be box extrude something. Why not? Naming doesn't make sense to me. Well, it only has to make sense to me. Sorry. Naming only has to make sense. Oh wow, how do you remember which box it is? Although I will say it's pretty well laid out. Well laid out. Oh well, it's cluttered. It's really cluttered. But yes, I know relatively well because all my art related things are in the same box. So I know it has to be somewhere in here or adjacent to it. So technically I should move this down and know it's somewhere in here. But yes, it is a bit of a cluttered. I ideally want things to be like this. Everything related to the pedestal and the pedestal pattern is in here in a subnetwork, so I know if I open this up, all of the things are organized. But I don't like putting it into a subnetwork before I finalized it. So once it's finalized and I'm happy with the level of detail and I don't plan to make any further changes to it, at least in the foreseeable future, I like popping it into a subnetwork just to have it a little bit more contained, rather than having a bunch of these floating around. So ideally, I'd want all my networks to be mostly condensed down to this. So there is that. But I'm usually a very organized person, but it's very difficult to organize while you work while on stream because I do want it to be educational. I want people to learn stuff, and you don't learn as much with organizing because you can spend ages organizing. I can spend ages. I can spend days organizing networks. In fact, I really enjoy organizing them. But obviously, that's not the most entertaining thing to watch. That's a bit like watching root topology or UVs, or it's a really repetitive task in some ways. So you can learn from it, but it is maybe not the most entertaining. So let's do a poly extrude, and that's going to be based on that, and then we're going to do insert. Hello. Need to have it selected. Ooh. Oh, that's the problem. I've not got the thingamajig. I've got it to smooth because I've been adding bevels to everything to make it look all pretty, and due to that, I've got a little problem. Couldn't view the lines and the edges and all that fun stuff, right? So, maybe that much. 0.015. I like fives. I like usually fives and equal numbers are my go-to if I can. It's not always an option, but if I can keep things like that, I'm very happy. Right. Because it makes math easy, and I'm not a mathematician, guys. Math is not my thing. So we're going to do another extrude, but this one we're also going to use a guru for, but we're actually going to use a built-in group for that. So I suspect this will be the side group. So let's see. Try extrude side, and then right. That is functional. Now the reason I don't want to extrude inwards, because the alternative would have been to extrude this part in rather than the exterior out, is because if we look at our network in the entirety, if I extrude inwards, that's going to collide with the archways because I've not booleaned these together. Would it have been better to boolean them together? Yes, yes it would have. I did not, however. So due to that, we're extruding outwards. Also, don't know what's going on with the music. I've got a random games playlist because copyright and game music typically don't have too much copyright thingamajigs. So there is that. But I'm gonna skip this one. We're now listening to Assassin's Creed apparently. Right, so I think I want this to be slightly wider, so let's do that. Let's try to. That's better. Looks more proportionate. We're also going to add a bevel. So let's do bevel. And we'll need to organize everything at some point. At least a little bit of organization. The mantra of 3D modeling. Would it have been better to do it this way? Yes, but I'm not going back. Yes, 1000% yes. I'll struggle for literal hours to do something rather than go back, which is not a good trait to have, but I'm in it this far. It's one of those things. But that is very apt. I think that describes the situation perfectly. So we're going to exclude some areas. And then we are going to bevel this. We've got something weird going on. Let's view the cube. Too high of a value. That is what it is. That is much, much better. Now, I would want this to be 2 divisions because 2 is better than 1. There's not that much order that goes into it. I basically just want it to be a smoother curve. Don't want flat edges. So we'll do that. Also, it's absolutely insane that there's 74 people here right now. I'm not intimidated at all, which is a lie. I'm very, very intimidated. But thank you for being here, guys. Lovely to have you. Right, so we've got that bevel, so it looks all pretty. It looks all pretty, and then we can view it. And I want this to be smooth shaded, so I can actually see whether the bevel does something I like. I think that's good. I think that's good. The other area, I don't know if I'm going to. Don't be scared. Our judgment is silent. Oof. At least if your judgment is vocal, I can argue against it. If it's silent, I'm stuck because I don't know what you're judging. But if you're judging verbally, I can prove you wrong, and that's half the fun. I love proving people wrong. But yeah, in terms of this thing, is there a bevel on it? Is there a bevel on my archway? Well, not the archway. Hello. I suspect this was another problem area. There's a reason I've not beveled it, because actually if I look at the lines, it's probably not got it. Yeah, it's not got a bevel. And the reason for it is just the way I'm combining things. Because basically, I do the extrudes on this pillar before the bevel. No, before starting over. I do the extrudes on the pillars after bullioning it to the pedestal thing, because if I do it before, it creates a very... Basically, the top pedestal clips through the front. So, we're actually going to fix that. We're going to fix that. Let's fix that. I was going to ask if this was shaded error or if it was crazy because I couldn't see vertices and edges. Yeah, it's basically just different settings. I like being in smooth shaded for some things because I can see the final look. But for a lot of it, I'm in edge mode, flat wire shaded. But obviously, if I press buttons over here, I can get the vertices. But since I don't really do manual selection, I don't necessarily need to see the vertices or the points, actually in this case, but be that as it may. Some people in the chat might know the difference between points and vertices in Houdini. I do not know. I'll get to that in a moment. I do not know the scientific differences. That's just a Christmas ornament. It does look like a Christmas ornament. I can just render it like this. Absolute perfection. We've got lights, we've got all the pretties. Love Christmas ornaments. Fun fact, I've still got Christmas lights up. It's February. I love Christmas lights. Christmas lights are brilliant. Right, focusing for half a second, what did I want to change? Nature of all 3D, we're going to spend a lot of time panning around, rotating around the object while we procrastinate what to do next. Admiring the pretties. Right, so. Pillar problem, pedestal problem thing. The problem I was talking about is... Can we remove the... Let's disconnect this for a brief second. No, we cannot. We cannot. Oh, because it's good welding together. That's fine. Okay. So, if we disconnect it at this point. Basically, this corner is the problem. This corner is the problem because if I extrude inwards before the boolean, this corner kind of clips through the... It clips through the pillar, to put it mildly. So what we can do is we can add a bevel to this edge here, potentially. If we do that, we might break our pattern. We might have to do it before the pattern. But that might... Okay, we'll work with it, we'll see what we get. That's going to be in the pedestal. Right, so we've got a bevel, but that is at this point. So ideally, we want it before the pattern. I think. Where are we going here? So ideally the bevel would be possibly over here. Why is this so cluttered? I thought I cleaned it up. Apparently not. Apparently I did not clean it up. So that goes to pedestal placement. So we don't want that one. We want this one. And then we're going to add a bevel. We ideally don't want the top and the bottom to be affected there. So, how are we going to counteract that? Probably with another group and normals. Group and normals fix most things. So let's do that, and that's going to be normals, and I believe it was 1 and 1, and then include opposite, and then there we go. That is fixed. And this is going to be for the bevel. bevel there. I'll need to delete all these irrelevant groups at some point. Have not done that yet. So we'll work with it. So that's going to be a bevel, and obviously this is doing nothing at the moment. Make it all flat edges. I don't want it to do that though. Stop loops individually. Never. I don't want the corner to do that though. Is there a way to not bevel the corners? There should be a way to do that. Because obviously this is not ideal. Don't want to bevel the corners. Can I change? None of that does anything. Stop loops, no. No. Ooh, I've got a solution. I've got a solution. Let's do that before the polyfill. Let's do that. And then we can do the polyfill after. Or not. And then, well, we can, but then we have to do a separate. Then again, I don't think we're using the polyfill on the side, so we can probably connect that up to there. And that should still work. Okay. We'll do the polyfill there, and this I'm going to bevel a little bit further. In theory it should work, because Houdini is hopefully going to play nice today. It usually does. It usually does. Right, so that goes into there, that goes into there. I've got a slightly broken ornament, but actually I think I like that because that'll make it the clipping less severe in theory. But we actually need the top corner though. Do we need the top corner? Let's see. We do not. Okay, brilliant. But that is too far. But I do want it to be flat though. And now we've got a little bit of separation here, which is not ideal either. How we're going to counteract that? I can probably make the pillar a bit bigger. And then adjust the flare at the top a little bit. Let's do that. Because I really do need this little bevel to prevent it from creeping through. I could potentially reduce the amount of bottom. No, we're not going to do that much effort. Right, so that is going to be lantern, and I've broken something somewhere. I've broken something somewhere. Well, I mean, if it looks pretty, I don't really care if it's broken. Which is a horrible mindset to have. Don't do what I do. Okay. Focusing for half a second. I think I'm going to make the pillars slightly bigger. I don't want to make them significantly bigger, but we can play with them a bit. So that is over here. It's going to be before the boolean. Actually, these will most likely either not be boolean together or be boolean at a different phase in the end. So this will be, I'll completely break this network today basically. Right, so we're working with our original box, and then I'm probably, let's do 1.5. And 1.5. They don't technically have to be square, because that is looking a little chunky. That is looking too chunky. Let's try 2.5. I really don't want chunky pillars. Let's keep it like that. Reduce the bevel a little bit. Where is it? Yeah. Let's do 8. No, that's probably not going to be enough. 6.5? Well, not 0.5, but like 5 with it. See? Perfect. Right. Now, here comes the breaking part. We're going to see if I can do what? If I can remove the boolean. Because the boolean is only there because of these corners clipping through. That was a way to eliminate that problem. Was it a perfect solution? No. Hi Rad, how are you? And welcome. We've actually got a few people on YouTube. we are just on Twitch. So that's cool. Focusing for half a second, we're going to remove the boolean. Let's just void it for now. That goes into there, and then this will go into that. And then we should all work and be functional. I will say I don't think the offset is large enough. I really don't. So let's fix that for a second. This extrude does that top piece, which is fine. Group range won't change anything, so that's going to be this extrude. And the distance, let's make it 25. Possibly? No. Hello, what are you doing? Nothing apparently. Why are you doing nothing? Let's avoid that. That is that. Alright. Probably changing the wrong thing. I suspect I was actually on a different node. So let's undo that, okay? Let us undo that. Yes, I was on a different node. So that was 1.9, so we can do that minus 0.2. So that is fine. Check which node you're on, guys. Check which node you're on. Right, so that's going to be a lot. I don't know how much I want to go. Let's try 225. Maybe. We'll see. It's going to be that one and this one. Let's actually connect these two, because we do want them to be equal. So let's copy that parameter and paste it into this one. Brilliant. And then if we connect that to that, that all works. Brilliant. And then we need to combine things. So let's see. I suspect we've lost our pedestal at the top. That is fine. That is somewhat intentional. So we need to do a merge instead of a boolean. So that's coming from that. Or instead we can just... Where's this going? Okay. We'll connect that up today. And that is now functional, which I'm very, very happy about, because that has bothered me for probably a month. Probably a month or longer. So that is all functional. The other thing we could potentially do is also extrude these. Potentially. Because these sides are also getting extruded. And choices. I'm also going to see whether I can make this pillar slightly narrower, because it's so chunky. I don't like a chunky pillar. So that's going to be 2. Sometimes I don't remember the shortcut keys. That is my problem. Yes, shortcut keys is a problem. In fact, I spent probably 6 hours in Blender yesterday. That was an experience, and then I had to switch to Maya and Substance Painter afterwards. I did not have fun. I really did not. I'm not saying Blender is bad. I'm saying it's different, and different is difficult. So yes, that is a thing. I was not very happy. But you do what you gotta do, right? If the job says use Blender, you use Blender. It's just one of those things. Sure, that is working. Today's going surprisingly well. I've officially ticked off my planned to-do list for today's stream, so we're going to be going in unknown territory to where I'm going to have to decide what else to change. So, what are we changing? We can do what? Oh, I've not ticked off my to-do list because the other thing I mentioned was the archways, which I'm not happy with because it's clipping through. But actually making the archways bigger fixed some of the clipping. Well, nicely done. I haven't modeled anything in a while, but I gotta say I don't miss it. I'm gonna stick to Sims. Are you going to do a fire sim inside it, by the way? I've not thought that far, but that would be brilliant. Because actually, I've not even got my concept up. Let me actually get the concept. There is a thing where you could potentially add fire. I've never done a fire sim. Doing a subpar one would probably be time consuming, but not too difficult. Doing a good one would be very difficult though, but you know, maybe we're doing it. My computer is just frozen, but yeah. Okay, quick usual disclaimer. I've not modeled this, don't know who the original artist is who created it, found it off Pinterest as these things go. I'm using it for inspiration, so we're not looking to create a one-to-one. One sec, ad. I'm sorry for the ad, guys, but it's unfortunately a part of providing free resources. Gotta make money somehow, which is unfortunately ads. But right. A lantern. As I said, quick disclaimer, not my work, found it off Pinterest, don't know who the original artist is. So, but getting to the point here, in the original, there's a little thingamabob. And this thingamabob could potentially have fire inside. Potentially. We could add fire there. Never created fire, but we can look into it. I mean, fire is fun. Fire is priority. Yes, fire. What can I say? So we could actually do that next. Add a little thingamabob in the center for potential fire, potential something. So let me actually do that. Make note of that. Watch me procrastinate so I don't have to work on arches. And that's going to be fire thingamabob. Why not? Fire thingy. Thingy is going to be the description. Sorry, guys, I'm a note person. I need to make notes, otherwise I forget because I've got a bit of the memory of a goldfish. Right, fantastic. Moving on. We've got best place to put it would probably be before the control. Potentially. So because the control already has this copied up at the top and the bottom, I quickly want to see where my pedestal is in the world. Okay, so this is below the world, which is actually ideal because that means I don't have to worry about the placement of my cylinder, which is going to turn into this thing. I can just place it, which is absolutely brilliant. If I can save work, I'm happy. So that is going to be alright. Now let's move that concept so I can see what's going on here. This will be merged. I think I'm actually going to merge this into the control. Why not? Which is just a null, by the way. Don't break anything, please. Was that risky? Probably. Let's just merge it down into the bottom. Very rustic medieval aesthetic going on. Yes, we do the rustic medieval thing here. Love for fantasy, anything, honestly. So like anything that goes almost to the cathedral fantasy vibe is definitely the vibe we're going for. Right, so let's view that one. And template our lantern at the bottom. Why not? Right, now this is giant. We do not want giant. So we are going to implement a control at some point where I can adjust the radius and the height within the control. Who would have thought? But for now, I'm just going to test base parameters so that we can see what we like, what we don't like. Now, obviously, you can scale these separately. I, however, do not think we will be scaling it separately. So let's try 2.5. Yeah, let's do 2.5. Why not? Copy that. Paste that into there. We'll create a reference for it at some point. I think that might be too small, but we'll work with it. Height, shrink that down. Let's go to perspective. I think that's too small. I really think that's too small. Right, forget it. We're changing it now, so I can actually get a feel for what we're going for. So that's going to be 4. That is better. I only want end caps on the bottom though. I don't really want them on the top. Is there a way to specify any of the bottom? I wonder if you can do it with polyfill. Otherwise, I'm going to have to either create a group. Do I need a bottom there? I can just extrude inwards. And then reverse normals if applicable. Let's do that instead. But, before I do that, I do want to add a little bit of further detailing. Just a teeny bit. So, before I do that, let's not decrease the number of sides. We're going to keep that at 16, possibly more, but let's keep it at 16 for now, and then I'm going to take that to 1 segment. And then we're going to do the poly extrude. Put that into there, and we are going to do inset, because insets are fun. And then we'll use some form of a group to specify which ones we want to extrude. So we could extrude this. Let's extrude this. No, the top and the bottom. Let's do that. That is going to be specify group here. That's going to be side. So we do that, and then make sure I'm actually on the right one. Yep, good to go. And we can do that, extrude side, and then do the pretties. Now, my next problem. If I extrude it this way, it's going to be more difficult to add thickness. So, before we do that, let's actually add thickness to this. If I extrude, why not? But then we have to specify. That's fine. Let's do that. There's probably a way of adding thickness without extrude. But we're doing it this way. Outward back, that one. Right. Then what we could do is do a front group. Specify that this needs to be front. Then we're not getting the extrude in the center. Brilliant. Okay, so that works. Then we do that, and I want a little bit of inset there. Or you could take it inwards. Oh. Choices, choices, choices. What do we want to do? Do we want to go inwards? To go out? Let's go out. Are you modeling this spontaneously, or did you plan this out beforehand? Spontaneously. That's why it's so chaotic. So I do have a rough idea of what I want to work on. I never know how. So I wing the how within the stream, which is a little bit risky because I can look like an absolute idiot on the streams, because sometimes, in fact, it happened, I think it was last week, someone in the chat had to spend like 40 minutes helping me to resolve an issue because I could, for the life of me, not figure out how to orient my pattern on the pedestal thing. We jump down so I can actually show. I could not get this pattern to orient with the shape. So what I've since changed it to be much simpler, which we can get to in a moment. But bottom line is I had someone in the chat that was helping me to fix this so it would actually be functional and orient with the pattern, with the pedestal, because what it was doing is it was clipping inwards. So yeah, bottom line is I do it spontaneous, risky, but a little risk is fun, right? So you guys get to watch me suffer. And I don't know what it's called in English, but we call it hop bubbles in upper parts. What's it called in English? Don't know what it's called. It's basically where when you're trying to explain something and you're stressed and you, I wouldn't say struggle to talk, but you're starting a sentence, then you're starting over. You're starting a sentence, you're starting over because you're stressed and anxious because you can't resolve something or you don't know how to verbalize what you're trying to say. Yeah, that. That stream was full of that because I was stressed because I'm not getting it solved. And there's people watching, and it was actually chaos. But yeah, bottom line is I take the risk so you guys can have something to laugh at, and silently judge. Very important. Silent judgment. Right. So we've got that. We just call that stuttering. Yes, a little bit of stuttering. It's not quite, I guess stuttering is probably the closest equivalent to what we have in English. So there is that. So what was I working on actually? What was I working on? This thing, but there was something I wanted to do to it. What did I want to do to it? Maybe we can actually patent. That would be fun. We're gonna add a pattern to it. Not right now, but we will add a pattern to it. But yeah, to show what I was working on then, that would be in probably the pedestal pattern. So basically, I was initially, let's start from the beginning. The initial cylinder was already shaped like this. And I added the pattern obviously at this point. But the problem was the pattern didn't want to orient in the way I wanted it to orient. And the second I scaled my pedestal, the pattern would break because the angle would change with the scaling, but not at the, let's say, the base point. It would alter at a later time, probably after the transform or something. Bottom line is it didn't work. So what I had to do, what I ended up doing to fix it, but this was, I believe, either in a next stream or I might have fixed it off stream. I didn't know if I fixed it on stream. I might have fixed it off stream. So what I ended up doing was I kept the cylinder flat and I added the pattern flat. I just used, let's quickly go over that. I selected this middle section here, which I did with the pattern placement thing, but I probably could have used it with range, group by range. But anyway, then I did curve from edges, resampled it because I wanted extra points, because I wanted to copy the pattern to the points. I could have potentially copied to curve, but there was a reason I didn't do that, and I can't remember the reason. But bottom line is it didn't do it that way. So yeah, basically the pattern copies to this point, upright, and then after that, after it's been boolean together actually, I did a bend or flare, taper. It's called a taper. I did a taper, but because of the pattern already being booleaned in, it doesn't matter if the shape changes because the boolean is before it. So due to that, we've got a functional pattern even with scaling. But yeah, bottom line is I spent an unnecessarily, absurdly long time on it. But we got there in the end, and that's the important part. So, you guys are going to watch me suffer again because we're going to add a pattern to this one as well. Because apparently I like suffering. So, how are we going to do that? I need an extra edge. Need an extra edge. Don't know if it's going to break everything though. It did not. We're good. And then we are going to do, we can try group arrange, but if it doesn't work, we'll do the old-fashioned way with a bounding box. Bounding boxes are usually easier, quite frankly. So that gives us that, which we don't actually want. Inverting it won't fix it. Can we do it this way around? Technically want this to be vertical, and that was probably the reason why I didn't do it with the, if you like suffering you should be modeling a 3D code. Is it that bad? I've never used 3D code, never used it. Quite frankly, I didn't know much about it at all. I've heard of it, but that's about the sum total of my knowledge in 3D code. Is it procedural too? Is that why it's difficult? Right. So. What I'm actually going to do, I played briefly and then I said, wow, this is not for me. I wonder if Pat has knowledge about 3D code. No, not blast. I want to delete the node. No. Don't crash. Let's save. I've not saved in this entire time. I'm very poor example. I think Pat might have mentioned 3D code before. Might have. Possibly. Right, so we're going to take it at this point. I wonder if there's a way to flip the group arrange. Because a group arrange is technically what we want. Let's mess with it more. Group arrange. Come on. Arrange. Thank you. It's not inverting. It's not an offset. Technically speaking. I think. That's still vertical though. Don't want to select 2. I only want to select 1. It's not that. It's that here. It's basically an offset. Don't want to do that. I think it's really good for hand painted textures. Yes, it would be. But I didn't know you can model in it too. Have you tried using VOPs or labs for the inlays and intricate stuff? I'm not sure how VOP would work in a tool building kind of setting there. Yes and no. The sum total of VOP I've used is creating the actual curve. So if we go to a line, no. Is that the best one to use it? Sure, why not? Right, so basically I take a line, add normals to it in a direction, and then I resample it to get firstly more points, but secondly I use it to get curve view, which I then use as a mask, which I can show within that with VOP. Basically bind the curve view, use a ramp set to float, and that goes into a displace along normals. And if you view it at the top, you get kind of this ramp that you can play with to get your procedural thingamajig, which I'm not actually viewing, by the way. Yeah. So basically I do it that way. This might actually be connected. It's actually connected to something else. It's connected to maybe this point. No, don't void it. Don't be annoying. Let's turn curve off. Let's see. Yeah, it's over here. So I can basically change the shape, which is makes me very happy. So I do use it for that. Have not played with it all that much for other stuff. I also used it for when I was building a robot. I used didn't use VOPs for that though. I used coding. A little bit of coding that I copied from the internet and altered to suit my needs because I cannot code. So yeah, bottom line is I use it for that. My knowledge of VOP is a very basic, very basic. So I haven't gotten into the very intricacies of it. So there is that. Right. So is there a way? I don't want to race with a group by range, so we're going to do just a normal group, and I'll do the bounding route and thingamajig, which is probably not ideal. It's not ideal, but it is functional. It is functional. So that's going to be. What does include by edges do? Minimum, maximum angle, unshared edges. No, we're not going to mess with it. Right, so that's going to be bounding region. I want this to be 0 though, so we're going to copy that, paste that, and then do times 0.5. No, that's not quite what we want, is it? Technically it should. Let's keep it like that. And for height, obviously this would depend on the height of the original cylinder. So let's copy that. There are easier ways of doing this. But this is how I'm doing it today. So we're gonna work with it. So copy parameter, and that's going into there. Paste relative references. 0.25. Why not? But that's going to do that. We don't technically want that. Let's keep it at size times 2, maybe. Size times 2. Now let's check whether this breaks or not. Actually, don't want to temper that. I want to be viewing that, altering this. Change the height significantly and see if that stays in the center. It does. Okay, so that's functional. We're going to do that. The next thing we want to do is the width. So I'm just going to copy that parameter and place that into the side. Probably isn't it? We're not going to use a match size for that. Why not? Do that, and that's going to be times upscale amount 10. Why not? Because I want options, and this allows me to have options. Does it need to be that big? No, it does not, but we're doing it that way. Right, so that's going to get connected. Technically we don't need it there. Unless we move it. No, we'll keep that. And this group is going to be edges, not primitives. Brilliant. Right, so we're now going to use curve from edges, I believe. Curve from edges. And then we're basically building the same system I have for the pattern within this one. I believe it's here. I could copy and paste it, but generally speaking, I prefer not to because it sometimes gets a little messy. Right, so that is that. Then we are going to grab our pattern. So that's there. And then we can do this one of 2 ways. We'll probably need to bend it in some way. Did not think of that. Can we use a copy to curve for that? Copy to curve. see if it works. Is there a way to bend the geometry though? Because this is not ideal. Beyond the fact that it's facing the wrong direction, it's just not ideal. Curve normal. So you see it kind of does that. It's not curving, it's staying flat. The big question is there a way to curve it to form to the shape of the cylinder? This should be. Surely there should be. The big question is, what's it called? It is a form of a deforming. Bend would not be the most functional. Because the problem is, I need something that's procedural. Because of the cylinder scales, I don't want the pattern to break. So, what I could do is implement a separate transform at the end to do the scaling instead of scaling it from the cylinder itself. That way, if I scale it, it doesn't matter if the bend changes because the pattern would already be pasted on top. In theory. So let's do that. Why not? Right. So copy to curves is fine. But I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to copy to point. Because in this case, I can. So that's going to be copy. Yeah, but I deleted too much. Okay. Possibly. What have I deleted? Don't want the copy to curves. I want the curve from edges to go back. So here it is. That one I do need. We're going to do that. And that's going to be based upon this group. I've not given this group a name. That's a problem. So let's call that cylinder pattern. Why not? Let's do that, and then I'm going to fix this. Right, brilliant. That is working. By the way, do you have a hip file to follow along? I've not got one currently, but what I can do eventually is I can organize this file and send it to you guys so that you can play around with it and see, kind of get into the nitty-gritty, because it's very difficult to learn how the node networks work from ground zero. So that is an option. But I unfortunately don't have the earlier versions because I was actually I can get the earlier versions because I do think I've got autosave to be turned on. Let's see. And then I can make like versions of it. So that's going to be under backup. There's not a lot of backups. There's about one a day, which is not brilliant. But it's something. It is something. So what I can do is I can mess with my autosaves and just make versions of it. Then you guys can play along with it. So that is an option. Right. What am I doing? Right. Pattern. That's going to be that pattern, and I want to add a shaper. And that's going to be that one. I can send you this file. Potentially. If you can work with it. But it's a very cluttered mess. So, up to you. But if you want to play with it from an angle, let me know and I can upload this one for you. Right, so just save again. And then we're going to be changing the pattern around, have that templated. And then we are going to bend it. Which way is this tapering? Is it a taper though? It's not a taper, it's a bend. And then we can... That does nothing. Let's change the capture region. Can I rotate this up? Here's my capture region. Capture region. Okay, let me do that then. I'm really sorry that you've had to work with Wes, by the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a red sticky note on this, so you know which area we're working on, and that should make it easier to find. And then save that, and then let's do. Do that one. That one, and then let's plop it in here. Then we can share that. Do that, and then we can play around with that. So brilliant. Okay, I've sent her a Google Drive link, so that's probably easiest. And you should be able to download that. If anyone else wants to mess with it, they're welcome to as well. I am curious what will come from it. But I would prefer having a more organized network to upload. So I should really spend this this weekend organizing this file. Right, so let's see. That is in fact a bend, not a taper, but we want a new capture direction. So I believe it's going to be up, maybe. Let's see. No, not up. Zero. Let's do that way. No, it is this way. Zero that out. Don't want it to bend that way though. What am I trying to do here? We're not trying to bend it that way. This takes it in that direction, which is not what we want. Is it up there? No. Wait. What if we do it? That way. Zero that out. Surely it can't be that difficult. So that takes it that way. What we can do... It's not that one. Not that Can I move it in the negative? Right, the problem is somewhat the fact that our pattern is in the middle of the origin. It's not like that point is lined up with that point. But okay, we'll copy it and see what we get. Copy. Sorry, I'm going to eat what happened. Manuel will be looking at my file to see if he can build a wrangle that can basically project my pattern around this thing, around the cylinder, because right now if I copy it to points, it doesn't deform with the shape of the cylinder. It's straight. It's too straight. That's the gist of the problem. I can actually show you what I mean rather than explaining in a very rough way. So that's going to be the point. Why not? Target point is that one, and then that one goes into there. Right. Beyond the fact that this orientation is very wonky, you can see how it's straight. I'm not too worried about the orientation. The main problem, if we could avoid that, is these are straight. So even if I copy it with the correct orientation, it's not going to look good. So yes, that is the problem. That's going to be the try copy curves instead. Let's do copy to curves. On points, stop points. Plug that into there. See if I can fix the orientation. Alright. Pitch, not pitch. Brilliant, that's going to be 90 degrees. Right, so here you can kind of see it beyond the fact that this is too big. We'd probably wanted to copy to every second point though. Lots of options. Let's see. What do we want to do? Scale it for now. Maybe. Just want to see what I'm working with. No, I don't want to scale it. Change my mind again. Well, we're gonna do it. We could. Then I have to fix the copy to points. We'll do that. So, first we're going to create a group by range. So I can select every second one, because I suspect it's going to be around about every second one. So let's do that. That one goes into there. We want points, and then we are going to move on to that. Brilliant. That is a function. So then we're going to use points. That goes into there. That goes into there. This goes into that. Then we're going to specify target points. Why not? Right, so now we need to fix the orientation. We could potentially use orient long. Curves. Brilliant. And then we could do what? Is there a way? Oh, it's going to be on the orient. So that's going to be on. Not pitch. It's new. There we go. That's going to be 90. Right. So that lines up, and that kind of brings us to our problem. This is not curving in a way that's functional. So let's avoid that. Ooh. That is facing the wrong way. What if we do 0.2? No. Okay, let's undo that. We could flip it. Let's flip it. Can we flip it? Don't do it minus. So I ideally wouldn't want to do it the other way. Right, but that's not very functional either because the end point is not curving. Technically, we want both sides to bend. Is there a way to specify that? There should be. Surely there should be. Can't imagine that there is. Deform in both directions. Brilliant. Now hopefully I can actually center this. Yay, it's working. I'm very happy. It's working. But right, so the reason we're checking out if we can do this with a wrangle is if I scale my cylinder, this bend value will need to change, which is not ideal. So hence why we're doing it a possible different solution. We've also got a cluttered mess over here. What is going on here? Right, so let's do some organization quickly. So that I'm going to move up. This is getting merged down there, that's fine. And this is the group selection thing, which is fine. And then we could do that. These can move up and make it look all pretty. The copy to points is functional. That goes into there. This goes into there, but technically want this to be merged before we go down. The copy to curves we're no longer using, so that can go. The taper is getting used to shape, so that's fine. But I don't want that to be higher than that. Okay, so we can do that, and then we can merge these. So do the merge. That into there, this into there, that can be avoided, and then this can go all the way down into the bottom. And we can see nothing. Right, because we've not specified anything. So, oh, and there's extrude. There's extrude as well. So the problem is, this is getting extruded outwards, but I've taken the inner line, so to speak. So, how are we going to fix that? Will we keep the group? Let's test it. That goes into there. And then we're quickly going to get our geometry spreadsheet, so we can actually see what we're doing. Top bottom, and that's going to be geometry spreadsheet. I'm not seeing a group, but that's on. Group extrude front and side. That is selecting those. But this should work further down as well because we're technically using a bounding box. Brilliant. Okay, so that's still functional. Don't really want the inside though. Don't want the inside. Tough. No, that won't work. Well, I'm not going to be happy with that because, how do I put it? If we've got the middle section, we're going to have the pattern kind of, it's probably going to completely cut away the entire exterior and interior area. It'll kind of merge the two together, so that's not going to be ideal. Trying to think what would be the best solution for that, because obviously we're using a bounding box for this. So due to using a bounding box, it's going to select everything in the center as well. If we use normals, the problem is it's going to select the top edge as well as the bottom edge and the center edge, so that's not ideal either. But there's another option. What's it called though? Is it a knife? Could be a knife. It's a knife. Let's remove the edge. So that's going to be one segment now. And then let's just ignore that one for now. And then look at what the knife is doing. Right, so that's facing the wrong direction, obviously. So we are going to have it facing up, most likely. Up, yep. And then the distance is going to be flexible. We can choose where we want the pattern. So I can actually implement a control for that. Fun thing to play with. So let's do something like that, maybe. And then, but that's also selecting the center though. That is also selecting the center. Let's think, what could be the alternative to that? What can we do instead? What we could do, so we can keep it as a separate network. No, but we want the exterior edge. We want the exterior edge from after all the extrudes. So that is not an option. Basically, the problem is as follows. I don't want the inner edge. That's the gist of it. I don't want the inner edge. So, we could potentially cap it. That way we don't technically have an interior. Then when we do all the extrudes, yeah, let's do that. Then basically we do just the inner extrude thing at the end. And that should, in theory, I'm explaining this very badly, but you'll see. So that's going to be one way, and then I do want end caps. And then this group's obviously going to be avoided, so let's avoid that. The poly extrude is now affecting everything, which is not so ideal. What did this extrude do initially? That's the inwards extrude. We no longer need it. Alright. This one, it just crashed. Brilliant. Where are you saving to? Update our logo. Save. Okay. No. Don't know why you crashed. Very annoying. I did save 20 minutes ago. So we're going to look for that crash. At least Houdini is somewhat decent and actually gives me a crash thingamajig. So that's going to be... Let's find it. Let's find it. There could be a backup, but I don't think my backup saves often enough. But it did give me a crash report, so I should be okay. That is going to be in users. Local. Temp. Houdini temp. It's going to be that one. And it's opening. We'll see what we lost, but I don't think we lost much because it's literally it created a crash report or a crash file as soon as it crashed, basically. I probably broke something. There's no other explanation. It's pretty much guaranteed I broke something. So I will see what I broke in a second, and we'll save this so that we do not lose stuff. So there is that. Unfortunately, Houdini takes forever and a day to open, but... Yeah, okay, that's fine. For a second I got worried there and thought we lost more than I thought. So, on this one we use the extrude front as a group. They're not going to be able to do that. Are we going to have to use a group first? firstly we're going to save because I do not want to go through the whole file directory to actually find it. So let's do that, and let's save it to. Probably need to set project as well, mind you, while we're busy with this. I believe it is set actually. We'll see. It's going to be there, and we're giving it a new name. Sure. There we go. Right. So. How are we doing this? Let's do a group. Manual group. Groups are your friend. Right. So we're skipping that. I'm actually going to disconnect from this network. So let's do that. We don't need this extrude anymore. That goes into that, and then we are going to create a group based upon normals. So that's keep our normals, and the direction. Probably going to be both of these. Probably. Brilliant. We've got that. So that's going to be inset. Let's call it an inset. I need to do better naming. No, not the base group. It needs to be this group. Right. So we're going into here, and this is now going to that group. Remove the old group, and we are roughly back where we were. Brilliant. Right. So do that. That works. That works. Brilliant. The only area we would need now is basically we need to insert this top here. So is there a way? There should be a group of it. Grouping it. See. No. Oh, need to specify the group. Name, and the new name is insert top. Why not? Hello, type please, top. And then I'm going to add this to this group because why not? Why not group this network? And then what I can do is the knife gets split off because that's going to be connected to the pattern. But I can do an extrude over here. Poly extrude, remove that group most likely, hopefully. And we are going to use insert top. No, undo that. What did I do? I was on the wrong node. Okay. That one is fine. Okay, so we can do insert top, and then can view this one. We don't want distance, we actually want the insert, so we can do that. And then I'm going to override the group, so that's not going to preserve the groups, and we're going to do another extrude. Lots of extrudes. So that goes into there, that goes into there. Specify the group. Don't want to insert. Hey, we're getting both. We're getting both. But do that. Then we have to merge at the center. Then we have to merge at the center. It's on the bottom. Nobody will know. Yeah, 73 people will know. But nobody will know that, yeah, this thing is going on. I'm not going to fix it right now. We are going to adjust the distance there. So that goes into that. Now, in terms of the knife, I wonder if you can create a group from that. We can do clip editors, clip primitive. Does this tell me what it is? On the plane to the group. think it would be that one. I think so. So that goes into there. I'll organize it in a moment, but let's just see what we can get. I think it's that one. It should be that one. So that's group arrange, that works. Point along, copy to. Why are you not lining up? Why are you not lining up? Let's see. Oh, it's due to the... Why are you doing that? Unless there's some sort of merge that's not happening. Let's do just a fuse. There was another node you can try for that. What's it called though? Polypath? Hello. What have I done? Where are we? Tab, Polypath. Brilliant. I've done something. Let's... What is this? Undo. Don't want this. Brilliant. Okay, I fixed it. Don't know what I did, but I fixed it. Right, so Polypath. And that goes into there. And that goes into there, and then group. Can we do something about this? I'm not sure why it's doing that though. Make isolate loops close. Group arrange. No, it's not that either. It's not that either. It's very, very weird. I've definitely changed the settings somewhere. So let's do group arrange. Clear from edges is all well and good. Knife is all well and good. That goes into that. And that goes into there. Select every second one. And now you're selecting. I have not specified a group. Right. Connect off. Keep group order. Lots of things to play with. It needs points, of course. Yeah, that still does that. That still does that. Start end. It's not skipping the first one. But why? Don't want to select multiple. Doesn't really help to offset it. We want to select one. To offset it, we literally just move the problem around. There is enough points so that it can select a second one, and it worked before we used the knife tool. So it's something with a knife tool. We could do that. That does a lot of nothing. Right. Right. So What have we changed? We did that. Polygons and all. No. Do you want to replace existing groups? That is fine. Curve from edges. We do need. I don't know what that'll do, but let's try that. That good. Still broken. Still broken. But in theory, it shouldn't matter. I can skip the knife. I can skip the knife and add the edges at the initial cylinder point. The problem with that is we then lose the editability of the knife. I said the knife tool, but you guys get what I mean. So let's get it working first. Then we can try implementing the knife. Sure. Let us do that. I believe that is that one. And that'll be that one. And that goes into curve from edges. And on this, that needs to change now to that. This goes into that, and that works. So I don't understand why the knife tool doesn't work for this. It doesn't make sense to me. Don't know why it doesn't work. Because it should work, in theory. Because it's the same cylinder. It's getting cut at a different point, but it is the same cylinder. What could be the reason? Because it's not group arranged. The group arranged is actually functional. It is something in the knife settings itself that's breaking it. But it's working, so we're gonna leave it. It's functional. So we are going to remove that one because we don't need two of the same thing. That goes to there. That goes to there. And then my PC sounds like a jet engine, but it's just rendering. No, I'm sorry. But yes, rendering is tough. What are you rendering in, Maya? So I'm assuming it's not Unreal. Unreal is general control. It's usually less intense, depending on the size of the scene, of course. So that works. That works. It's bending. It is working. Now from here we need to boolean this. Now booleans and I have a love-hate relationship. Firstly, I don't like it because it gives me terrible topology. Okay, so that's one part of it. The second part of it is sometimes it works, but 95% of the time it doesn't. And I can never figure out why exactly that is. I can literally leave a broken boolean, close my file and reopen it, and it'll work. So yes. Sorry if you guys can hear my phone ringing in the background. Apparently people are worried that I am dying because I've got a funeral plan, scam caller calling me. But anyway, so hopefully they'll leave me alone now. So we are going to boolean. And that's going to be, do you want it raised? Do we want it to be raised or not? No. The other one is indented, so we can make this one indented as well. That's going to be that one, and then the other one we need is this one, I think. B from A. That is awful. What does that do? Nothing. Alright, so this is not on the exterior enough, which is fine, or it's bending too far. Let's adjust the bend. Why not? So we can do that, and then Yeah, we could do that. But it's not pretty. It's not good. Let us move on. What can we change? We can scale the cube. The cube. Why am I talking about a cube? Probably because you mentioned rendering a cube. We can adjust the scale of the cylinder. So let's hit transform. This part of the network is becoming very messy, not ideal. Too many transforms, too many extrudes, too many things. But I'll fix it at some point. So let's do 0.1 and 0.1. I might need a PhD just to model a door frame in Houdini. And yeah, do a PhD in Houdini, and once you've done that, come and teach me. um, so yeah, no, a door frame specifically is probably one of your easier things to do in Houdini, thankfully. Thankfully, which is very good news. Um, but it is an interesting experience. I will say that it is an interesting experience. So I think this is too big. That is too big. So we're going to do 0.25 and 0. No, not an extra point. 0.25, and then copy to points. That goes into there. Just see. Alright, so that's still too much. Alright, so we are going back to our transform, and that's going to be probably something obscure like a 0.1, which I actually hate, but if it works, I can't complain too much. It does not work. 1 does that. I wonder if it's not. I wonder if it's too far out rather than not close enough. So technically we need to scale down then. Let's try that. Oh, that's an awful number. That is an absolutely awful number. In theory, I should actually. Why's our music died? Music is back. In theory, I should actually just change the position of the pattern a little bit, and that will work instead of changing the scale of the cylinder. But be that as it may, that is functional. And then this merges there. We don't need that to merge there. This is that. I don't think that needs to merge there either. And that goes into that, and this goes into that. We no longer need this merge. That goes into the bottom. Don't break. Please don't break. It has broken, I think. No, it has not broken. Right, so that is functional. Do not like the position of the patterns. So what we can do is, since we've done a transform in any case, we can play around with the positioning. Can we play around with the positioning? We cannot. That goes into there, that goes into there. Why can't I play with the positioning? I want to play with the positioning. Because there's a bounding box. There's a bounding box, so we lose our selection. I don't need theory, I just need a faster graphics card. Well, that does help, but graphics cards these days are pricey. Don't even get me started on RAM. RAM is even worse. RAM is significantly worse. So let's flip that around. And then, if we view it at the Boolean point, we can have theory. Move it down, and it works. I'm very happy. It works. It works. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so let us merge. And that's going to be there. Now I know something in this network is broken because we've got a little error. But since it looks pretty, I'm going to ignore the error. The error does not matter because I cannot see whether it's broken or not. I suspect it's at the, it's not at the pillars. It's over here. Let's see what the error is. A mismatch. So it's coming from either this side. I can't imagine it coming from that side. Transform. Those are all working. Why is it breaking at the merge? Yep. The error disappears at that point. Seems like the merges enjoy giving errors, so we're going to ignore the error because, quite frankly, if it's not doing anything, if it's not destroying anything, do they matter? As long as it's functional, who cares? Right. So. We've done a little extra today, which I'm happy about. I still have not created our archways or fixed our archways clipping. I have not done that. So we've still got brilliantly clipping archways. That was, in fact, the first thing on my to-do list for today was fixing the arches. The other stuff were all extra fun things to play with, but I'm a master procrastinator when I don't know how to fix something. But it's not necessarily that I don't know how, it's more a case of it's very finicky to fix because the values play so much off of each other that it is a lot of hand dialing. Which actually means I need to fix the system and create a better system, and therefore if there's a better system, it won't matter so much. If there's a better system, they won't be hand cranking this way, that way. But I've not found that system yet, so hence why we've got a cluttered mess. But I think that'll be another day's problem. So thank you guys for joining me today and keeping me company and helping me and all of the fun stuff. If you guys want to know more about when our streams on, etc, I don't know if you guys are on our Discord, but join our Discord, then you'll know exactly when to join the stream, and you can also reach as streamers if you want to send us a message or whatever it may be or have questions. So yeah, we'll end it here for today and enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Bye.